There's a video with Ben Affleck that's catching a lot of traction right now on X.com, but I don't really think a lot of people are talking about it on YouTube. I wanted to share it with you because I found his take to be very interesting. And I'm just taking it as someone else's opinion. It's not actual facts in the sense that no one knows what the future holds and how companies will continue to be valued or if they are overvalued. But I think that it's important to hear different perspectives so you can make a more informed decision, not just always thinking about the good, but also taking some risk management into consideration. Let me know what you think. So this is part of the podcast, I believe, that was featured.
What I see is that, for example, if you try to get ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to write you something, it's really shitty. And it's shitty because by its nature, it goes to the mean, to the average. And it's not reliable. And I just can't stand to see what it writes. Now, it's a useful tool if you're a writer and you're going, what's the thing? I'm trying to set something up, or somebody sends someone a letter, but it's delayed 2 days and it can give you some examples of that. I actually don't think it's very likely that it's going to be able to write anything meaningful, and in particular, that it's going to be making movies like from whole cloth, like Tilly Norwood. Like, that's bullshit. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's not. I think it turns out the technology is not progressing in exactly the same way they sort of presented it. And really, what it is going to...
This is the part that I really want you guys to pay attention, where it's not really progressing at the way that they present it. Very interesting.
Be a tool, just like sort of visual effects. And yeah, it needs to have language around it. You need to protect your name and likeness. You can do that. You can watermark it. Those laws already exist. I can't sell your fucking picture for money. I can't. You can sue me, period. It kind of feels to me like the thing we were talking about earlier, where there's a lot more fear because we have the sense this existential dread. It's going to wipe everything out.
Right.
But that actually runs counter, in my view, to what history seems to show, which is adoption is slow, it's incremental. I think a lot of that rhetoric comes from people who are trying to justify valuations around companies, where they go, we're going to change everything. In 2 years, there's going to be no more work. Right. Well, the reason they're saying that is because they need to ascribe a valuation for investment that can warrant the CapEx spend they're going to make on these data centers, with the argument that, like, as soon as we do the next model, it's going to scale up, it can be 3 times as good. Except that actually ChatGPT-5, about 25% better than ChatGPT-4, and costs about 4 times as much in the way of electricity and data.
That is just, again, a major argument that, in my opinion, is not being talked enough about. He's going to hint on the original progression and how it did have a huge value piece, and there was huge progression in the beginning. But then when you look at ChatGPT 4 versus ChatGPT 5, there is progression, and it's still impressive progression, but it's simply not at the, I would say, cost of 4 times the expense for 25% of the progression. So hear this.
So those, they say that's like plateauing. The early AI, the line went up very steeply, and it's now sort of leveling off. I think it's because, and yes, it'll get better, but it's going to be really expensive to get better. And a lot of people were like, fuck this, we want ChatGPT 4, because it turned out like the vast majority of people who use AI are using it to as companion bots to chat with at night. And so there's no work, there's no productivity, there's no value to it. I would argue there's also not a lot of social value to getting people to focus on an AI friend who's, telling you that you're great and listening to everything you say and being sycophantic. But that's sort of a side issue. I think for this particular purpose, the way I see the technology and what it's good at and what it's not, it's going to be good at filling in all the places that are expensive and burdensome and they make it harder to do it. And it's always going to rely fundamentally on the human artistic aspects of it.
I don't know. You guys, obviously, he had a very specific approach when it came down to talking about ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5 and how AI at first there was very aggressive and very clear progression. I mean, I just remember where everyone just began to use it and talking about how impressive it is. And then now there is no question that it is still advancing, but just like so much technology, it almost reminded me a lot of a very popular currency right now is like crypto and kind of like Bitcoin, right? Where a lot of people are talking about it and how great it is, but it's simply not progressing at the same rate that it once was, right? Going from, a few dollars per share up to 100,000. Like that's insane growth because of early adopters. They were able to make a killing. But then when you put the perspective that, Bitcoin, let's say that it's trading at 100,000. It's not. It's currently trading at 92,000. And realistically, the average American maybe has a spare capital of like $1,000. So you're telling me, best case scenario, that if you put in $1,000 and best case scenario, it goes to 200,000, you double your money. Woohoo. You're not going to become a millionaire, right? It doesn't take away from the part that, yes, 100% return is very impressive. And there's no question that just like with ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5, it is still incredibly impressive in how much it's progressed. But when it's the cost or at the cost of 4 times to get there, you really then have to ask yourself, especially with a lot of these companies and with this entire market, where if you look at the overall market, the market has really been lacking progress for the past few weeks, where you have these big AI tech companies that continue to try to justify their valuation because of this utility and usefulness of AI, when at the end of the day, all they're really trying to do is justify. And, openly so, Mark Zuckerberg has made it very clear. He has openly stated that, hey, we might be over investing into AI, but the risk of over investing is not as great as the risk of under investing and being left behind in comparison. So I think when it's made that clear to us that these big tech AI companies are over investing and it has become incredibly expensive, I think 2 things can be right at the same time, where yes, I think AI is going to be a very useful tool to be continued to be used in the future. But is it going to be the end all be all? Well, no, at the end of the day, just like how he said, at the end of the day, it's still going to need a human to feed it specific criteria to get the output for it to be a useful tool and resource. Unless you're, again, just using it as a companion to talk to. I actually didn't know that people did that. I'm not a big user in ChatGPT. I find it almost kind of counterproductive, where all you begin to do is ask chat every question that you can really try to figure out yourself. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little bit more old fashioned. There's no question that I've invested a pretty decent amount into a lot of these big tech AI companies, right? NVIDIA, Meta, Amazon, Google. I've made this very obvious in the past before. Even my daughter's account, a big portion of that is investing in big tech, but we're not over leveraged. And that is why I'm making this video, is that, well, just because Ben Affleck said it, it doesn't mean that now markets have to correct. No, that's besides the point. There is value behind AI, but at what cost? And by hearing this perspective, I think it kind of just gives AI more of a reality check, where 2 things can be true: that yes, it can be a useful tool and it can be something that is extremely valuable, but also a lot of these companies can just be over justifying their valuations because they know that that is the only way that they're going to be able to get investors to justify how expensive it is to invest into AI with such little return. I mean, what's always been the big story when it comes down to OpenAI is that they want to be valued at over $1 trillion, yet it's a company that makes less than $20 billion in revenue annually. There's a huge discrepancy there, and they're always looking to borrow more money. I think even in the beginning, Sam Altman was found to have said where he might even be reaching out to United States government to try to be subsidized because of how expensive it is to grow his company. So you're telling me that a company that started as a nonprofit is now worried about not being able to turn enough of a profit because now it's no longer a nonprofit and now it's trying to turn a profit because now it wants to become a publicly traded company, but it doesn't want to lose its competitive edge on how it's over investing. So again, just I think it's something you kind of leave in the back burner, where there's no question that investing into AI has been and will be most likely a really good investment. It is a very useful tool, especially for those that know how to work with ChatGPT and all these different AI softwares. But at the end of the day, the progression that we might continue to see is simply not going to be the same progression that we saw in the very beginning. It's always the early adopters and the early advances that are more cost effective and also more noticeable. As things continue to go on, things are likely to become more challenging, but most importantly, more expensive. So at what cost will AI at that point no longer make sense? Again, a question to ask yourself. One thing that I wanted to remind you guys is that tomorrow, in observance to MLK Day, the stock market will be closed. So if you're part of my LPP team and you were hoping for me to go live, well, there's no reason to go live because markets are closed. So that means that I will see you on Tuesday at market open for our live trading session, which is pretty unfortunate because right now BTC is at lows of 92,000. Look at this. This is in just the past few minutes. BTC went from 95,500 all the way down to 92,100. Huge sell off. But guess what? Markets are closed tomorrow, and I have an open short on MSTR just like I showed you guys on Friday. It's not a very big position, but because of BTC selling off, we all know that when Bitcoin sells off, MSTR sells off even harder. So if Bitcoin is down a significant amount, it would have been very nice to see the overnight hours of how much MSTR would have been down. But at least for now, again, we'll save it until Tuesday at market open. And fortunately, again, my position is only about is it 30,000? I forgot which one because I have a position on MSTR. I can actually double check right now. I have a position on MSTR. Actually, no, that's over $60,000. And then I have a position on, let me unlock this. Let me double check. We have a position. Oh, I didn't. Here we go. Yeah. I have a position that I opened. It's 52,000. It's 301 shares. Average price of 173 for MSTR. I opened it right before the close on Friday. That's after I think I made $3,000 on Friday. And then the other position is CoreWeave. And CoreWeave is where I had my small $30,000 position, and that's just with 300 shares based off of that overbought reversal. So we'll see how the markets trade on Tuesday once the market's open. So again, I'll see you there. It's the second link in the description down below whenever you're ready to watch me trade live. Again, every single day, right at market open. When the market's open, we're there. Especially if you're a complete beginner, I would encourage you to check out the second link in the description to learn more about our LPP team and how you can tune on in. We have members that signed up back in 2018 that still watch me trade live today. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.